Jake worked in a dusty corner garage at the edge of a small Ohio town, the kind of place where people still paid in cash and offered pie instead of tips. He wasn't rich, but his tools were always clean, and his heart was in every fix he did. One afternoon, as storm clouds rolled over the highway, a woman named Claire came into the shop. Her daughter, Ava, followed beside her in a wheelchair, her legs thin and motionless. Claire asked if Jake could help modify a toy car, something fun for Ava, something to make her feel like a kid again. Jake crouched down to eye level with Ava and smiled. "You ever driven anything before?" She shook her head, shy but curious. He looked at her wheels, then at his own half-disassembled go-kart in the corner, and something clicked. That night, Jake couldn't sleep. Instead, he took out a notepad and began sketching an idea, not a toy, but a drivable, battery-powered mini-car designed just for Ava. Something that would let her feel the wind and the thrill of moving without help. He wasn't sure if it would work, but he had to try. Over the next 3 weeks, he worked in silence. His regular customers saw him less. His meals came late, and his nights were spent in the shed behind the shop, welding and soldering by the flicker of a dim light. Ava and Claire would visit sometimes, but Jake kept the project hidden beneath a tarp. Ava would sit nearby and ask questions about tools and wires, her curiosity growing each day. Jake answered patiently, but never gave away the surprise. The car had to be perfect. Finally, on a bright Saturday morning, Jake pulled the tarp off the project and rolled out a gleaming red mini convertible. It had soft seats, custom joystick steering, and her name Ava in chrome letters across the front. Claire gasped, and Ava's eyes widened with disbelief. Jake helped her into the seat and placed her hands on the controls. The car hummed to life. Slowly, then faster, Ava moved forward on her own. She giggled, then laughed, then whooped with joy as she zipped around the lot. Jake stood with his arms crossed, hiding the emotion in his chest. Claire hugged him tightly, tears slipping down her cheeks. "You gave her something I never could," she whispered. Jake just nodded, watching Ava spin in circles, hair flying, joy radiating from her like sunshine. The whole garage staff had come out to see. No one noticed the long black limo that pulled up just beyond the curb, silent and waiting. The driver remained seated, but from the back window, a figure observed the scene. The laughter, the car, the mechanic. Then the tinted window rolled up, and the door slowly opened. The man who stepped out of the limo wore a crisp black suit and polished shoes that didn't belong on gravel. He adjusted his tie and quietly approached Jake, who was wiping grease from his hands while still watching Ava loop around the parking lot. "You built that car?" the man asked. Jake nodded, unsure who he was. The man introduced himself as Elijah Grant, CEO of American Mobility Technologies. He explained he'd been passing through and saw the commotion and what looked like something he'd been chasing for years. A mobility solution for children that actually worked and made them smile. Jake was skeptical. "I'm just a mechanic. I don't do contracts and big names," Elijah grinned. "That's why I'm talking to you. You did this without a boardroom. That's the kind of thinking we need." He handed Jake a card and asked if he'd consider visiting their headquarters in Detroit to show the team what he'd built. Jake shrugged. He wasn't looking for attention, but he couldn't deny that Ava's joy had stirred something inside him. Maybe if other kids could feel what Ava was feeling now, it was worth the trip. A week later, Jake arrived in Detroit, unsure of what he was walking into. The facility was enormous, filled with engineers, designers, and medical advisors. They brought in Ava's car, examined every wire, every bolt. But more than that, they listened to Jake, really listened. He told them about Ava's laughter, her sense of freedom, and how no diagram or manual could replace understanding a kid's needs. By the end of the visit, Elijah made him an offer: partner with them to lead a new division focused on custom child mobility designs. Back in Ohio, Jake's garage transformed. New equipment arrived, along with a few young engineers who wanted to learn from him. Claire joined as a community advisor. Ava, now proudly independent, became the symbol of the movement. Her face showed up on pamphlets, news stories, and eventually national commercials. The project, called Drive Your Way, exploded in popularity. Orders came in from families across the country. Jake still worked out of the same garage, still fixed regular cars in between, but his heart now belonged to this mission. One afternoon, months later, Jake stood back as 5 kids, each with a different version of Ava's original car, raced around a makeshift track behind his garage. Ava led them, laughing just as loud as she had that first day. Jake leaned on the fence, the same grease-stained hat on his head, watching the future take shape. What started as a favor for a shy little girl had become something far bigger. The man who once built engines now built possibilities. And he never charged Ava a dime, because some roads, he believed, should always be free. Asterisk.